Hi and welcome to session number 4. Today we are going to be very much focusing on building core strength. We'll be in sort of 3-4 different positions today. As always, if anything doesn't feel good or isn't right for your body, please skip that section. You can always do the rest of it. I have a pillow. You might find a pillow or maybe a cushion or a couple of cushions useful today, so have that nearby if you want to maybe use that. We're going to start from a kneeling position, and all we're going to go for to begin with is just a tiny little bit of warming up for around the hips, the back, the shoulders in particular. So as long as it feels okay for you, we'll have the knees quite wide. So if I just come forward for a second, knees a little bit wider than hips. If that does not feel good for your hips, if you're prone to hip pain, hip injuries, anything like that, or if you're a bit like me, your endometriosis affects your hip, you might want to bring the knees a little bit closer together. So go wide in the hips only if it feels okay. If not, you can always keep the knees quite close together. And from there, all we're going to do is place the palms down to the floor and stretch back, just by dropping the elbows and lifting. Now you've got options here. You could just lift and lower. If you want to go a bit further with it, you would maybe lift, or move back slightly. You maybe lift up from the knees, take the weight forwards, and then rock back. So just doing what really suits you there. As I said, you could always just drop sort of to the elbows or drop the forehead to the floor and lift. You could be coming a little bit further forward. You might not have the knees wide, you might have them quite narrow, and you can do that move still. From there, weight forward over to the hands and rock back. So wherever you are, try and get a fair bit of length into the arms so that you can actually feel that stretch towards the upper back, where the shoulders are. We're just going to take 2 of whatever version you're doing there. And a last one. And then we're going to stay up in that 4-point kneeling position. If you don't like being on your wrists, you can do this from your forearms, or you could lean perhaps on a low table, edge of a sofa even would do. I'm going to come into some cat stretches. So if you're on your hands, your fingertips are spread wide. If not, you have your elbows under the shoulders. Vision is down between the hands or the elbows, and the knees are lined up with the hips. So the knees have a gap in them. I'm going to take a deep breath, really try and feel the expansion into the side of the ribs, the back of the ribs, and breathe out. If you're following me, it's in through nose, out through mouth. You can breathe differently if that's not comfortable. And just as deep a breath as you individually can. It might be slightly different to my breath. Last time, I'm going to do just the inhale. On the exhale, I want you to think of scooping the belly button or drawing the belly button away from the floor as we round into the back, dropping the head and neck so your vision goes towards your thighs, and then unraveling. Take a deep breath. Now, depending on how that feels, you could always bring your vision forwards or vision down to the floor. Deep breath. Breathe out. Think about tucking and kind of tilting and scooping through the pelvis. As I said, I want you to think of it, the move coming from the front of your core. You have a little bit of pelvic floor movement in this as well. Just be really careful that you're not kind of really lifting up your pelvic floor and keeping it tense. We don't ever encourage sort of a tension to stay in the pelvic floor, but you might find it engages, especially on that rounding up. But then I want you to release everything, all of those muscles, all of that tension as you unravel. I'm just going to take 3. Think of drawing the belly away from the floor. You can round into the back as much as you like. It might not be this much. Deep breath. 2 more. And last time. Drawing up the belly. And then I want you to find around about a halfway point between those two, so not too dipped into the back and not too rounded. So it's fairly flat in the back but not collapsed into the spine. I'm just thinking of lifting the chest away from the floor, pushing into the floor, and then from there I want you to go quite slow with this. So you're just going to step back with the left leg. I want you to almost push the heel away, so you should get a really brief stretch into your calf. Step it forward, we swap. Heel drives back, so you're almost rocking back towards the foot. But as you do this, I want you to be really careful that you're not swinging your hips side to side. So I'm still kind of trying to lift the belly a little bit. I'm just not rounding the back with it, as if my core is pulling away from the floor slightly to help stabilize. Swap legs, take a breath. Breathe out. Again, you can lean on your forearms or on the edge of a chair or sofa or whatever. We've just got 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one here. I just want you to slowly sit back and just give the shoulders a shrug or the wrists a small roll. We are going to stay here just for one last section. I want you to think of that same thing as we did in that cat stretch where we were rounding our back to the ceiling a moment ago. Not as exaggerated, but I really want you to think of almost like you're trying to hollow your front of your core, your anterior core muscles, your really deep core muscles, if you're trying to scoop them up into your body. Tucking into your tailbone slightly, you see the movement there, without fully rounding the back. So just pay attention to this section of my back for a second. I'm thinking of lifting the belly up into the body slightly. You'll notice how it moves here slightly. I'll show you a couple more times. There's me with no tension in the core. I'm thinking of the rib cage pulling away from the floor, the belly pulling away from the floor, tucking through the tailbone slightly, lifting the belly without this. So that's where we're going to try and go from. Again, choose forearms, choose leaning on the edge of a chair, the edge of a sofa, the edge of a small table, as long as it's safe and sturdy. Hands or forearms to the floor. So take a breath. Tilt the pelvis. I've just shown you that move. So you can feel your core muscles. Now, if that's quite strong, you don't need to go any further. And you can just release and just focus on like almost like a smaller version of that cat stretch that we did a moment ago. So let's reset. Scoop up the belly. Now from there, we're either just gonna simple tuck toes, release. Now some of this tension is coming from your body. Pay attention again to this lower back area here that I'm doing. I'm tilting the pelvis. I'm thinking of drawing the ribs and the belly up away from the floor. Toes tuck. So you're either going to continue that if you want to go a little bit further with it. We lift the belly, lift the ribs, tuck toes, take a leg back. We did that a moment ago. You were almost in a kind of like a partial plank. Okay, lift belly, tuck toes, other leg, step it back. It's almost the same thing as before, but we're a little bit more tense, especially around that lower front of your core. So underneath the belly button, towards the ribs, towards the hips. Now you've got options here to make it more challenging if you want to. Maybe think about increasing this gap between the wrist or the elbow and the knee. So, for example, here, but wherever you are, I want the shoulders forward over the wrists or forward over the elbows. So I've gone for a longer length between the knee and the wrist. Shoulders forward. Now pay attention to my back. Here's that tuck. And that's all of a sudden going to feel stronger. I'm alternating, stepping back. Similar to before, as I said, slightly more lift through that lower core as if you're just scooping it away from the floor. And just being really careful that your shoulders don't start to rock back over here. We want the shoulders forward over the elbows or over the wrists. Now if that's still quite comfortable, you're fine. You're either going to continue with just the toe tuck, with the step back, or with a longer length between the knee or the knee and the wrist or knee and the elbow. Or your final option, scoop up the belly, tuck toes, hover knees, an inch, drop the knees, quick stretch back, reposition, tilt the pelvis, scoop the belly, deep breath, toes are tucked, knees lift slightly, reset. We're going to do 4 more of wherever you are, which was either just a toe tuck, a step back, or you can have this longer length, or you can do this final element with the knee lift. Pelvis tilts, belly in, ribcage scooped up, deep breath. We have 3 of whichever version you are now doing. The last 2. So remember, you might just be on those little step backs, you might be on just a tuck of the toes. And a final one. And then after that last one, just want you to pause and again, maybe roll the shoulders, the wrists, some bigger arm circles, moving the head side to side, anything there. We are going to reposition into seated. Okay, so you're either sat with your bum on the floor, or if you find that you're quite prone to tight hips, especially around the front of the hip, into the groin, or the lower back, right in towards where the coccyx is, this way you might find it useful, just with a bit of height, could be a couple of pillows, just sitting on something that gives you a bit more height. So we're either here or completely flat to the floor. One thing to really notice, the first movement, I want you to think you've got a piece of string from the crown of your head pulling you towards the ceiling without sticking out the ribs. So we want to just draw the rib cage in slightly. I'll show you what it looks like from the side. Drawing tall, not letting the ribs stick out, so then just drawing them into the body without this. So if you find you're also slouching and leaning backwards, definitely sit on a pillow or a couple of pillows. So we're going to aim to get the legs quite straight. If they don't go all the way straight, keep a slight softness and bend to the knees, and you could even put an extra couple of cushions under the knees if that's really tight, again, for the hips. So from there, I'm just going to move the arms wide, palms are facing forwards or to the floor, whatever you prefer. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears. So if you're quite tense here, just drawing shoulder blades down slightly. We are aiming to keep your bum cheeks or your sitting bones planted down. That applies whether you're on a cushion, a pillow, a couple of pillows. Take a breath. I want you to think of drawing the belly button in or backwards into your body slightly. So we're tensing the core. Breathe out, and twist. Breathe in, face back forwards. So you don't have to have the arms in this position if you prefer, say, Cossack arms. And I want you to think, every time we twist, we're alternating left, right. Every time you twist, you're leading from your core. You're using your rib around the rib cage to start and initiate that twist. Remember, belly button slightly drawn into spine. You might have to keep resetting up to the ceiling as well. And I want you to also notice, as you twist, are you finding that one bum cheek or one leg, one hip is wanting to move with it? If it is, you've gone too far. Remember, you can have your legs slightly bent if it feels really tight, and your arms either wide or narrow. We're using this to twist. We're not just twisting from the arms, okay? We're just going to take 3. Breathing out, twist. Breathing in, forwards. And last one. And just to have a quick pause before the next one is a very similar move. Soles of the feet together, let the knees drop wide. Be really careful if you're hypermobile here that the knees don't just splat to the floor. You might need to hold them to control. And lean forward a little bit and just feel that slight stretch and opening around the groin, around the inner hips. Okay, so we're gonna sit back to where we were. This time we're gonna go a little bit further with it. I'm gonna show you side on first. So you've got all the same options. Sit on a cushion, sit on a couple of cushions, sit on the floor, your sit bones, your bum cheeks are planted down. You're aiming for legs straight. If it's really tight in the hamstrings, back of the legs, front of the hips, anywhere around there, soften the knees, support your knees, even with a cushion or a pillow if you need to. Alrighty, so we're starting the twist the same, and you can either just stay with a second round of these twists, side to side or from here, or you've twisted, remember we're pulling and moving the rib cage first, and then we're going to try and reach. Now where you can reach to depends on your flexibility, depends whether you've got any strain or anything like that to your back. So you're looking to get the opposite hand towards the outside of the leg. It might be the ankle, it might be the shin, it might be the knee. Wherever you are, I want you to pause for another breath. Scoop a little bit deeper. So draw the belly button back behind you to unravel. So you're not loading just into your back. So I'll just show you from the front as well. So sit on your cushion, couple of cushions, pillow, straight legs if you can, bent legs if you need to. We're twisting from the ribs. And then I'm going to lean down into it. This spare arm can reach behind you as long as you're not hypermobile, in which case please keep it tucked. And then pulling the belly button into the body to use the front of the core to wedge me back tall around here. Remember, shoulders are dropped. Another breath into that stretch. Belly button draws into the body and restacking back tall. Shoulders dropped, bum and sitting bones planted down. Another breath. Belly button draws in. Twisting as far as you're comfortable. It's not about making this huge big twist. It's initiating from the ribs round. Reaching to the outside of the ankle, calf, knee. You don't have to add that reach if you don't want to. We're into our last 3 here. Belly's lifting me back tall, shoulders relaxed. 2 more. Tall spine in between, this is final 1. And again, we're just going to bring the soles of the feet together. Knees can drop wide. If you're hypermobile in your hips, support the knees. If not, you can just let the knees kind of flop out as where, to whatever point they feel comfortable. Lean slightly forward with hands to the feet or hands on floor. We're just going to stay there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drawing the knees together, use your hands to support you. We're going to stay seated for one last little section. This time we're going to have the legs purposefully bent. You could sit either with your bum onto your cushion or your pillow, or you could wedge it behind the back. So you can choose. Sometimes, especially if you've got like a large, big squashy pillow or a couple of cushions, it can feel quite nice to support the back. So from there, arms either here, or if you prefer that position, or even crossed over the chest, I want you to think of closing the bottom rib cage, or the bottom rib even, as if you're taking that down towards your belly. And if I just move that out of the way for a sec, pay attention to this area. Here comes that kind of tilt into the pelvis. And then imaginary I've got like a corset on, or even a belt, and I'm just tightening a notch on the belt. Not so tight that you need to hold your breath. As if you're corseting, your ribs closed, as if you're corseting your belly, or your belly button back behind you. You're just going to lean slightly back. You decide how far back. And then I want you to think a bit again about that growing tall sensation. Remember, you can have some support onto the lower back. And if you don't like your legs in this position, don't mind you straightening them. It feels a bit different in terms of the movement, but it's still quite effective for here. So what I want you to really notice, and it might be useful to even place the hands here, is making sure that you're not kind of doming out the muscles in front of the belly. So if you've got like all of the muscles almost squeezing outwards, you haven't quite got that kind of hollowing and corseting in motion that we look for. So remember, it's almost like you're sliding the bottom of the ribcage to the pelvis, but you're not completely collapsing. We're moving and engaging the muscles. I'm tilting the pelvis. I'm almost coming off the sitting bones, and I'm just rolling back. You decide how far you want to go back. If you get any back pain, lower back in particular, I'd make this really small. Little rock from the pelvis, this kind of level. Okay, I'm going to go for 3. Arm position up to you. We breathe out, ribcage slides down, ribs are corseted. This is nice and controlled, and remember, not pushing the muscles outwards. If anything, drawing inwards. Deep breath. We're growing that a little bit taller. Be careful you don't stick out the ribs. Control the ribs into that imaginary corset. And then we're going to grow tall. Last one, remember, ribcage slides down, belly button almost draws back behind you. Now we're going to try and pause and open. One arm. If you've got the arms bent, it's fine to do it bent as well. And then we're going to alternate to the side. Any back pain at any point, please roll forward, have a quick rest. I'm keeping that sensation of scooping the belly button into the body slightly. I've leant slightly back, it doesn't have to be far. I've got a bit of support from this pillow. I'm breathing out as I twist. My vision is going with that arm that's opening. And we're just going 4, 3, 2, and last one here. And for a final time, soles of the feet together, leaning forward. If you're hypermobile, maybe keep hold of the legs so they can't completely splat to the floor. You might want to just keep hold of them anyway. And we're just going to stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We are going to be transitioning to lying completely down on the mat. You might want to have a pillow or a cushion to support your head. Alrighty, so next bits, if you've done any of the other sessions, next bits, certainly some of it will be familiar. If you're using something to support your head, you're going to take it under the neck. You don't have to, so it might well be that you choose to do without it. Now on this, let me sit up for a sec. On this first lying down section, if you have any neck injuries or issues, please just pause and focus on the breathing and the core engagement and don't lift the head. Or if you also have anything like vertigo, POTS even can be affected by it sometimes, you can stay here. I want you, wherever you are, or whatever you choose next, be careful the rib cage doesn't stick out. So I want you to think of the back of the rib cage really tight down to the floor. And that's kind of taking away that flare here. And just controlled it down slightly. As I've done that, I've drawn the belly button down towards the floor as well. So again, we're not bulging the muscles outwards to the ceiling. We're just here. Legs are bent with the feet flat to the floor. Small gap in the knees. You could always place a pillow or a cushion between the knees if you're wobbling around a lot. Deep breath. Now you're either going to focus on engaging and hollowing into your core a bit more as you breathe. Or if you have no issues with your neck, with your balance, with dizziness, I want you to think again of sliding the rib cage down towards the belly as we lift. Now we see mistakes with this move quite a lot in that people want to move and lead the movement with their neck, and it is going to give you a sore neck and it's not what we want to get out of the movement at all. So I want you to think every time of using from the rib cage, bottom of the rib cage especially, as if you're trying to grow that down towards the belly and the pelvis, and that's what's lifting you up here, all through here, this section. It's not a big movement. The chin slightly tucks towards the chest, but it doesn't sit on the chest. Arms, don't really mind. You could always slide them up the thighs. You could always have your arms crossed over, ribs slide down to the belly. Almost as if you're doing that, it's going to bring those shoulders and head, neck and sort of into that lift anyway. Deep breath. Remember, you don't have to lift the head. You can always concentrate on that real hollow sensation through here. And just keep the head low. We've only got 3. Ribs slide down. If you're getting a sore neck, please leave it down and focus just on your core engagement as you breathe. 2, and 1. Okay, arms going to place down by the side of the body. You can either have your head to the floor, head on a cushion, head on a pillow. I want you to think same thing. Be careful ribs don't stick out. The back of the rib cage, the mid back, the lower back are all nice and tight down to the floor. So you're really connected here. You can't even reach a finger underneath. I'm engaged. That imaginary corset is all nice and clipped in and attached. I'm drawing the belly button down towards the floor slightly, so the core's switched on before I've even moved. I'm going to pick up the left leg, slide the heel along the floor, breathe in, swap it over. So I'm looking here, or you're looking here, stay quite level through your pelvis as your core stays engaged. The back doesn't start arching, the ribs don't start coming to the ceiling. You don't have to fully straighten the leg. So if you notice your knees and your hips, your pelvis are rocking a lot, slow it down, anchor your core, make sure the back is nice and flat down. Swapping left, right. Just got 2. Last one. Okay, so next section, we're going to put those last two exercises together slightly. Now, if you weren't doing that neck lift and you were just staying with the neck down, you're going to try with the arms here, okay? If you had your head and neck and shoulders slightly lifted and it felt okay, we're going to lift into it each time with the arms starting on the floor here. Remember, rib cage slides down to the belly, an extension of the left leg. Breathe out. Inhale, swap it over, breathe out, swap. And lower. Or it might just be, as I said, you try it from here and you've just got to concentrate on your stability a bit more. 2 exercises. Reset for a nice long deep breath. Belly's drawn down. Could even be that you do the arms, head, neck, shoulders together. Right leg. Left leg. We've got 3 more rounds. We've really got to make sure around the belly is switched on. Otherwise you're just marching the legs and not doing much else. Remember, the head doesn't have to lift. You could always leave the arms lifted and not lift the head, neck, shoulders. Alright, I think we'll make next round last one. Head up or down, belly's drawn to the floor. And relax. And again, on this next section, you can either have your head to the floor or head on your cushion. Imagine you've got a ball and you're rolling it into your belly button. So this kind of natural space under the lower back, we're just going to take that out of the equation. So again, it's giving me that kind of hollow scoop sensation here. The rib cage, back of the rib cage is nice and flat into the floor. So we're going to do a similar move, either going from just the left leg lifted, and we're just going to go a bit higher. From here, or if you feel like you've got scope to go further and your back can stay tight to the floor, we try it from what we call tabletop. Now if you find that you lift your knees and then you start arching your back or arching your rib cage, it's not the right move for you. Tuck the pelvis slightly, hollow the belly down, make sure the lower back feels tight into the floor. Arms are down. You decide, are you leaving your right leg to the floor? Are you having your right leg to tabletop? You could always have it here, but hold onto the back of it for some support. Not my favourite, because it can kind of take away from the move, but you've got that option if you really need to access it. We are lifting the left leg, so remember your right leg, you're choosing here or here, belly scoop down, we're breathing out. And in, same side, just that left leg. Notice I've got a left hand placed over the bottom of the ribs towards the belly to make sure I don't start pushing the rib cage or the muscles up into the hand. Just going to go for 2. And 1. Have a moment, we're going to swap legs. So you've either now got the choice of the left foot being to the floor with the leg bent, or the left leg to tabletop. Remember, set the pelvis. Tuck slightly into your pelvis, make sure the back is anchored down, the ribs are anchored down, the belly's higher to the floor. You choose with the left leg position down or up. The right leg lifts when you're ready. We breathe out. Remember, it's a little bit higher on the angle. Breathe in. The knee, I'd say, above the hip. You don't want this, okay? Because you'll lose your core slightly. Knee above hip. We extend. We breathe out. We just have 4, 3, 2, and the last one. And then either bringing one knee, both knees into the chest. Might want to just rock very gently side to side. And then when you're ready, we're going to move and come to you lying on your side. So we're going to go onto the left side first with the legs bent. I would like you to use your pillows or cushions, and you can stack a couple here, so that you're kind of lying onto them with that bottom waist. Now where we're going to have, I want you to really stack the hips, so be careful that top hip isn't kind of rolling back behind you. Forward, knees stacked, feet stacked. And if anything, have your feet maybe slightly forward or in line with your bum. You definitely don't want your feet coming right back behind you because it tends to arch into the back. And then you're supported in your cushion, a couple of cushions. And we're going to also support the head here. Or here, actually. Any of these are fine. So fingertips towards the temple or ears, or bottom arm down, which would probably be my preference because it allows you space to open up this top waist. We're going to push into this bottom arm or elbow as we take that top elbow. So you're lying on your left, your right elbow is going to the right hip, all the way down. Remember, you can do it from here. I want you to push into this left arm that's to the floor. Lie down, take a breath. It's kind of the same idea. I want you to think of almost closing the side of the ribs to the hips. So this gap here comes together and it lengthens. This can get a little bit sore on the neck, so be careful you're not leading the neck into the movement first. You're squeezing from here. Remember, you can have this bottom arm bent so you can give neck a little bit of support between each one. Elbow towards the hip. We're breathing out as we lift. We're just going to go for 4, 3, 2, last one here. And then from there, if you've got this cushion or pillow here, let's move it to give the head some support. Everything else stays the same, still on the left side. Now I've moved both arms long in front of me. The left arm's going to stay long. I want you to slide that right arm forwards, as if you're trying to tickle the fingertips away from you, up to the ceiling. Now, depending on how you feel, you could also go back behind you. I don't actually really have the space here, but I would encourage it as long as it doesn't hurt or cause you to get dizzy. I'm just going to go for 4, arm slides forward. Way open up here. Vision's going with that right hand that's moving above us. And another thing to point out here, actually, I've not completely let this bottom waist sag into the mat or into the floor. Just lifting the rib cage away from the floor slightly, so core is a little bit switched on. Breathe in as you close the arms together. It doesn't really matter how big or small this is. Got 2 left. Sometimes you see people prefer to do this with a bent arm. That's fine as well. Legs are not moving. We've got 1 more. And inhale to close. And then from there, you're just going to slowly bring yourself up. We're going to swap sides for same 2 exercises. So remember, first one, I would encourage the use of this cushion, pillow, couple of cushions, whatever you're using. We stack the hips, we stack the knees, we stack the feet. The feet are not behind your bum, they're forward or in line with the bum. Remember your options with this bottom arm. So it could be that you've got the arm bent, could be that you've got it to the floor. So we're on our right now, the left elbow is bent. I'm thinking of pulling the rib cage on the left side to the left hip. And pushing into this bottom arm to lift. So remember your options here. Be careful, same as before, you're not leading with the neck first. You're thinking of pulling from around the ribs. We're just going for 4, 3, 2, and last one. And then with your cushion, pillow, whatever you're using, or maybe you weren't using anything, but if you were, definitely move it to here to support the head. We're keeping stacked in the legs. We're going to move the arms long and straight ahead of us. Remember, pick that right rib cage up from the side so it's not sunk into the floor. Lift it slightly. Left arm, the top arm slides forward. We breathe out and we're rolling back. Remember, as far as you feel comfortable. So if you've got a bit more space, if I was angled, say here, you could get right back behind you, potentially. But just be careful if you are hypermobile around the chest, shoulders. You don't want to risk anything like subluxing or dislocating shoulders. We've got 3. We'll roll it forward. Remember, the left arm slides long first. 2 more, as if you're trying to tickle the fingers up towards the ceiling. Last time. And then from there, just going to go for a couple of stretches. So in your own time, I'm just going to ask you to come slowly up to seated or kneeling, whatever you're comfortable with really, it doesn't really matter. You could sit on your cushion. Seated, kneeling, I guess you could probably stand as well. We're just going to think crown of the head to ceiling, don't flare the ribs, nice and tall, close your eyes if you want to, and then roll the shoulders just for 5, 4, 3, 2, and last time. And then from there, stay in that tall position. The right hand is coming to the left leg. And then just going to look over the left shoulder. I'm going to stay for 5, 4, 3, 2, and switch. Left arm to the right leg. We look over right shoulder. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Facing back forwards. I'm going to slowly drop the chin towards the chest. Let the tension go in the neck, so you're not holding it in any particular way other than letting it sit forwards. If you're prone to dizziness, vertigo, please don't go any further than you are here. If it feels okay for you, we keep the chin dropped. And we're just going to roll the vision to the left armpit with the chin down. It should feel quite a strong stretch for your neck. We slowly bring the chin through the middle, we look to the right armpit. We're just going to do one more each side. Chin comes through the centre, or stays in centre if you prefer. We look left. We look right. We bring the chin back through the centre and slowly upright. We're just going to go long or bent in the right arm. And we're just going to stretch it over and hold for 3, 2, 1. Same on the other side. Long left arm or bent left arm. Coming over, lengthening for 3, 2, 1. Back through the middle, and you are all finished for today. I hope you feel okay. Little bits of those that can feel a little bit heavy on the head, neck and shoulders. So if you need anything extra, like a slow sort of circle of the neck, more shoulder rolls, full arm circles, anything like that, obviously please feel free to add on a couple extra stretches, or even that child's pose that we did at the beginning, stretching out long on the floor. Anything extra, please feel free to take a few moments to do a couple of extra stretches if you need to.